What is going on, everybody? It's the Franz, and we're here for a Smackdown review for October the 9th, 2020. It is night one of the 2020 WWE Draft, and it's just as bad as last year, minus the boardroom videos that we saw for Team USA and Team Fox. That shit was eliminated because, of course, COVID. If we didn't have COVID, they probably would have still had that shit going on. But thankfully, they did not. The draft edition of Smackdown was live from the Thunderdome, Florida, from Orlando, Florida, as Michael Cole welcomes us. He's joined at ringside with Corey Graves. Cole and Graves go over the draft. The following superstars are on the pool for tonight's eligibility: Raw Women's Champion Asuka, Sasha Banks, Bianca Belair, Dana Brooke, Humberto Carrillo, Elias, Angel Garza, Drew Gulak, Heavy Machinery, Otis and Tucker, The Hurt Business of Bobby Lashley, Shelton Benjamin, Cedric Alexander, and MVP, Mickie James, Lucha House Party, Kalisto, Man Metalik, and Lindsay Dorado, Drew McIntyre, Rey Mysterio, Dominic Mysterio, Murphy, Naomi, The New Day of Big E, Kofi Kingston, and Xavier Woods, Universal Champion Roman Reigns, Ricochet, Seth Rollins, Mandy Rose, Women's Champion for the Tag Team Champions, Shayna Baszler and Nia Jax, Chad Gable, AJ Styles, and Jey Uso. SmackDown Women's Champion Bayley will not be on the docket until Monday. So, as the rules have been for the last two drafts that they have had, Raw gets 3 picks, SmackDown gets 2 picks. The reason for that is Raw is 3 hours, SmackDown is 2 hours. And Stephanie McMahon is hosting the draft, as she is going to be naming all of these picks. So, how did we start this? She comes out, she's introduced by Greg Hamilton, and the first round was fucking stupid. The first round, the very first pick was Drew McIntyre, then Roman Reigns, then Asuka. Then the only pick that was surprising was that the Monday Night Messiah is no more because Seth Rollins is coming to Friday Night SmackDown. And then Shelton Benjamin, Cedric Alexander, MVP, and Bobby Lashley, The Hurt Business, are staying on Raw. What in the literal fuck? Do we need to have, does everyone need to be eligible for this? Do we need to see everybody? This is just as bad as last year. Where last year was bad because we just came off of the awful wildcard rule where you didn't know who the hell was on Raw and SmackDown anymore. And lo and behold, here we go. We're going to do this again where we're going to see who joins Raw. Majority of these picks are going to be people who were on Raw or SmackDown already, which just makes no sense. If Drew McIntyre's on Raw, why is he needed to be drafted to SmackDown? It should be people that you want to see move, who they want to see move from Raw to SmackDown and vice versa. And that's it. We don't need to know that Asuka's staying on Raw, Roman staying on SmackDown, yada, 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 and so on and so forth. Caleb Braxton's backstage with Seth Rollins. He says he'll never about the name. It was about the message the most. He's thrilled about coming somewhere new. It's exciting. He's a little heartbroken and upset that he won't be on Raw to see the Mysterio family implode, but lucky for him, he won't have to see their disgusting faces again. Hold your breath, Seth, because we'll talk about that later. Rollins says the greater good is moving on and moving forward to Friday nights. Now, at this time, I'm like, yes, finally, we can get this guy moving on and the Mysterio family moving on to something else. But do you think WWE allowed that to stay? Absolutely not. We'll get to that later. Falls Count Anywhere match, Big E versus Sheamus. This match has been a couple months in the making, or a couple weeks in the making, I should say. This has been a powder keg ready to explode between these two, with this just coming down because, as we know, Sheamus is jealous of everybody. So he attacked Big E a couple weeks ago when Xavier Woods was making his return to be a part of Talking Smack. And then Big E was taken out for a while. Sheamus got attacked a couple weeks ago. And then last week, Big E made this challenge. So we had this match. And they beat the piss out of each other. This match went all over the place. One thing about Sheamus and the fact that he is so pale, because they had kendo stick shots in this match. Him getting hit by kendo stick shots over and over They just show up so much worse on Sheamus than anybody else in WWE. If Dominic Mysterio would have had the pale skin that Sheamus has when he took his beating with the kendo sticks, it would have looked 10 times worse than it did on that episode of Monday Night Raw. But they're beating the hell out of each other. They're getting bloody. They go to the back. We get to the back as they start brawling to the back. And we come up to some packs of flour and eggs with Big E, being incapacitated. And Sheamus is like, oh, you like to make pancakes, huh? We need a good egg for that. And just starts throwing eggs in his face. Takes a whole thing of eggs, throws it on him, throws flour on him. So they keep going further back. And Sheamus gets hit. Big E gets a broom. He gets a hold of a broom. Beats the hell out of Sheamus. That breaks it. Gets another one. Breaks that over his back. They get into the parking area. Sheamus picks Big E up, takes him up, hits the white noise onto the car, busting them both open all multiple ways. Sheamus was already busted open as it is. And he's getting ready to... Big E, Sheamus has a car trunk open. And he's about to destroy Big E's arm. But Big E kicks that out of the way. Sheamus goes for the bro kick, ends up kicking the roof of this trunk lid off. So Big E finally gets him and hits him with the big ending through a table, ending the match 1, 2, 3, and that was that. Big E gets the win in a brutal, bloody match. Now, people for some reason were comparing this to the parking lot brawl that you saw between the Santana Ortiz and the Best Friends in AEW. It's not even close. Two totally different matches. Completely. This one just happened to end in a parking lot area. Not even close to the same type of thing. They had kendo sticks and a couple brooms, and that was it. Those guys over there, it was bloodier. It was more brutal. This was a brutal match, but my God. I would never want to take a bump or a slam through a car windshield. That was just, ugh. Big E's bleeding. Sheamus is bleeding. Sheamus looks worse for wear just because he's, his skin is way paler than anybody else on the main roster at this time. So, after the bell, Big E's music starts up in the arena, but both competitors are still out, and they take the parking garage. Big E tries to recover to end the segment. Bayley defends against Sasha Banks, also the Fiend versus Kevin Owens in the Fiend's first and possibly last match on SmackDown. He is in the pool on Monday, so this could be the only time that the Fiend actually has a match on SmackDown. We go back to the ring, and out comes Jey Uso. We see what recent happens between him and Roman. The announcers hype Uso versus Roman at Hell in a Cell inside Hell in a Cell, which we'll talk about later. Why I'm like, this match doesn't deserve it, but we'll get to that in a second. Back for break, and Uso is waiting, and his music continues playing. Cole sends us backstage to Caleb Braxton and Big E. A security guard walks up, and it's Kofi Kingston. Another guard comes over, and it's Xavier Woods wearing his creepy fucking face mask that has somebody's face on it. It just looks weird. New Day back together. You can tell Big E is a little hesitant with his fellows because he's on this singles run and these guys are coming back. So he feels like that's going to pull him into being just another member of the tag team division. So they do the whole New Day Rocks thing. Big E definitely in pain after that last match that he just had. Uso takes the mic and asks his cousin, "What's the stipulation for Hell in a Cell going to be?" Which I'm like, what are you talking about? You're inside Hell in a Cell. What other stipulation do you need? Says he gets it. Roman isn't going to come out on his own. It's only on his own terms. Uso goes on but him and says, dude, just stop embarrassing yourself and your family. He also says, ask Jay to stop. That is the time and the leisure of the champion to make his appearance when he sees fit. He has words for those who become too ambitious and shows us what happens when they come up. He sends us the video package and shows Roman dominating Uso at Clash of Champions. He comes back to Heyman, and now we see Roman sitting on a table with his title belt on the table. Roman recalls his dad and Jay's uncle used to say, believe nothing you hear and only half of what you see in the business. That should be applied to everything you do. He says, but what we saw in the video, you can believe that. The fake crowd boos. He says he was trying to help Jay, tried to make his life better. All Jay had to do was say the words, acknowledge me as your tribal chief. Now there will be consequences. And there is going to be a Hell in a Cell I Quit match. Roman says after Jay quits, there will be consequences. His music starts up. Jay looks on from the ring with a serious look on his face. So, this match does not deserve Hell in a Cell. Plain and simple. It should be an I Quit match, and that is it. How are you going to put an I Quit match inside Hell in a Cell? That makes absolutely no sense. I Quits is supposed to be like a false count anywhere match, only you happen to say I quit. You're supposed to be able to go all over the arena, beat each other until one of you says, you know what, I've had enough, I can't take it anymore, I'd rather live than have this motherfucker kill me. You're going to lock that and confine that into Hell in a Cell. Again, this feud does not deserve Hell in a Cell. And we'll get on to a couple other news with the Hell in a Cell matches later. But you're going to go, well, how do we up a Hell in a Cell match? Let's put I Quit in there. The only way you win is your opponent says I quit. Who the fuck chose that? That's ridiculous. Just fucking stupid and ridiculous. Back from break, Stephanie McMahon is set at stage. She announced that the New Day versus the Smackdown Tag Team Champions Cesaro and Shinsuke Nakamura for tonight. It's time for the draft for the second round. She announces that Raw is selecting AJ Styles, who just got traded to SmackDown in June or July. And now he's going back to Raw already. What the fuck is that? Seriously, what the fuck is that? Obviously, AJ Styles came on his Twitch stream a couple weeks ago and says, you know what, I'm cool with Paul Heyman. I can work with Paul Heyman. Bullshit. Bullshit. Because if that was the case, you wouldn't have to be drafted to Raw. That's just so stupid. So, when years that they do a draft, other than John Cena being drafted to SmackDown and then drafted back to Raw, this has got to be the shortest tenure for somebody who wasn't drafted on both brands in the same night. Because he was traded to SmackDown and now he's back on Raw. Sasha Banks stays on SmackDown. Naomi goes to Raw. Bianca Belair goes to SmackDown. The final pick in the Raw women is this Raw women's tag. The women's tag team champions Shayna Baszler and Nia Jax are staying on Raw, but because they are the women's tag team champions, they can still go to SmackDown on Raw. SmackDown and NXT as well. But once they lose the tag team titles, they will be on a Raw exclusive pair or just Raw exclusive talent. AJ Styles checks in a video from the home. He says he should be offended he wasn't the number one pick for SmackDown. After all he's done for this brand, he wasn't the number one pick. But he's relieved. He doesn't deserve to be around cheats like Jeff Hardy and that neckbeard Intercontinental Champion Sami Zayn. He goes on and says he's headed to Raw and things are about to get phenomenal. The only reason I could see you bringing him to Raw is that Drew McIntyre is retaining the title over Randy Orton, and we're going to go from Randy Orton and Drew McIntyre to AJ Styles to Drew McIntyre, which I wouldn't have a problem with, even though I feel like we had that match already, didn't we? Didn't AJ face off against Drew McIntyre, or am I missing something here? No, I think he hasn't. So I could definitely see AJ going up against Drew McIntyre if Drew keeps the championship. Matt Riddle and Jeff Hardy versus John Morrison in The Miz. I don't understand why this match is happening. Apparently, Matt Riddle made a tweet about working with Matt Riddle, and this might be the only chance. Miz and Morrison made fun of it, so this is where we get this match. The match didn't go very long. Jeff Hardy, Matt Riddle win. I really don't care. Just want them. Let's see what happens with these guys in the next part of the draft. After the match, out comes Lars Sullivan, who we haven't seen since when the last time we seen Lars Sullivan? I would say, and by the way, he does have new music. I know it's not his old music, but it's not a bad thing. The last time we probably saw Lars Sullivan was what? April of last year? It's been well over a year. And I guess it's the best time to bring him back because we are in a no-fan zone right now with the stupid, boring, even though Michael Cole wants to say it's a scintillating and, like the Thunderdome. Yeah, this is the best time to bring him back because you have fake crowd reaction and we could get, people can get to see what he's like before we get to before we get fans back. So he comes in, he destroys Matt Riddle, he destroys Jeff Hardy. Morrison tries to get the Miz out of there, it doesn't work. Miz gets destroyed, and that's all that. Lars Sullivan is back from his year-plus hiatus. Hope everything with him mentally is perfectly fine now. That was one of the biggest reasons why he wasn't in WWE right now because of things that have happened in the past. Back from break, and Stephanie was on the stage again with the draft. She says Lars Sullivan will be added to Monday's draft pool. She announces that Ricochet is staying on Raw. Jey Uso stays on the SmackDown. Raw keeps Mandy Rose. Rey Mysterio and Dominic go to SmackDown, which I'm thinking fuck! You had a chance to get Rey Mysterio and Dominic Mysterio away from Seth Rollins, or Seth Rollins away from those two. And what did you do? You even had, we should have saw it coming with Seth Rollins saying earlier in the night that, well, I don't have to be around them anymore. Why do we have to continue to see this feud? No thank you. So the Mysterios and the Rollins feud continues on. No word on Murphy. I believe he's going to be in the supplemental part of this draft during the Talking Smack tomorrow afternoon. SmackDown Women's Title match: Sasha Banks versus Bayley. I said it once, I'll say it again. This match should not have happened tonight, and they proved me fucking right. The match started out. Sasha Banks is all over Bayley. She's beating the hell out of her. And referee's getting a 5 count on. She's barely breaking a 5 count. She's all over Bayley. She's so pissed off. She wants to beat this woman from pillar to post. And within 3 minutes, Bayley hits her with a chair and causes it a DQ. You fucking idiots. This match should have never been on this show. You know why this match was on this show? Because the NBA Finals were on tonight. We're in Game 4 or Game 5. If Miami wins tonight, there's going to be a Game 6. If Miami doesn't, LA's going to win the championship. But WWE's realized that, wow, which even though a lot of people are not watching the NBA because of the social justice bullshit that they've been narrative they've been throwing out there, that they needed to try and keep as many fans as they wanted, and Sasha Banks and Bayley is the hottest feud on this brand. But why could you not wait until Hell in a Cell? Now, you could have announced this match, bid the bait and switch, have Bayley and Sasha Banks come out, get ready for this match, and then Bayley just leaves out because the whole thing by Bayley, Sasha Banks, is that Bayley is a coward. So if they would have just said, you know what, we're going to have this match not actually happen, and then we'll get to Hell in a Cell. But then that would mean that there's going to be 3 Hell in a Cell matches. And we don't need 3 Hell in a Cell matches. This is a B-grade pay-per-view. If you want to call it a C-grade, whatever. With the last 2 years' main event match, Hell in a Cell match, ending in a no contest. We don't need a 3rd Hell in a Cell match. Banks is furious. She ends up sending Bayley face first into the chair in the corner. Banks folds the chair up and starts smacking her and saying, "Screw you, Bayley," as she hits her over and over again. Then she sets her up to Pillmanize her, or Shawn Michaels her, and Bayley gets out of dodge, and that is that. Why waste our fucking time just to set up for a match at Hell in a Cell? This was not needed. This is, again, slapping these two women in the face. This should have been a night for contract signing. Sign the contract for your match at Hell in a Cell, inside Hell in a Cell. This better be the fucking main event, too, by the way. We see what happened between Kevin Owens and Bray Wyatt last week. Owens is backstage preparing, and he's just taping his fist up, and he stops. We see Alexa Bliss walk in, and all she says as she looks at him, she gets up to him as close as she could and says, "Let him in." And there you go. So, let him in, Owens. SmackDown Tag Team title match, The New Day versus Cesaro and Nakamura. If anybody remembers, at the horror show known as Extreme Rules, these two teams faced off against each other in a tables match in which the New Day lost, sending Kofi Kingston through 2 tables. Cesaro did, putting him out for 3 months. Remember, the Friday after the tag team title match at Extreme Rules, Kofi said it's going to be about 6 weeks. Then it was 3 months later, we finally see Kofi Kingston come back. Big E having his singles run, which has really not been doing anything lately. And now you have this match. So, the match was okay. It was decent. Xavier Woods, great to see him back. He's been gone for at least a year, blowing out his Achilles tendon in his foot last year on the Australian tour, I believe it was. So, great to see him back. Different verse, same as the first. Woods hits a top rope big flying elbow drop off of the top rope. 1, 2, 3, and the New Day are your tag team champions. After the match, Kofi and Woods stand tall. The titles fans cheer on when Big E runs down to celebrate them, all bandaged up from his match earlier in the night. Stephanie comes in. She says, "Congratulations to you two. Raw selects the new SmackDown Tag Team Champions, Kofi Kingston and Xavier Woods." Now, I have some words on this. We'll get to that. But she said Kofi Kingston and Xavier Woods. Kofi and them were like, whoa, what? You didn't say his name. Say his name. SmackDown selects Big E. Woods and Kofi Kingston and Big E are no longer a trio. Big E's on his own. He's going to continue his singles push, whereas the other two will go on to be, the only reason I can see this happening is because they are going to fuse the tag team titles. We're going to have one tag team championship, and that's the only way to do this. The New Day versus the Street Profits at Hell in a Cell. The winner becomes the sole tag team champions in WWE, and they can go back between both shows unless all the tag teams are going to come to Raw. And with Rey Mysterio out, still injured, doesn't look like Dominic and him are going to be a tag team anytime soon. But yes, the New Day are bummed in the ring. Raw also selects Dana Brooke. Otis stays on SmackDown. They did not mention Tucker. And Angel Garza stays on Raw. Basically, this whole draft thing is fucking stupid because most of the time we're just seeing talent that are already on Raw staying on Raw and SmackDown talent staying on SmackDown with a few moving parts here and there. That's all you can say about that. Back from break, and it's announced that the WWE Draft will be online tomorrow on the free version of the WWE Network on Talking Smack for the supplemental part. Because they had a good bit of talent, and you only had 20 picks. I think they had like 40, I think it was like 40 people in the SmackDown pool. There'll be like 50 talent. There'll be like 50 guys, men and women in the Raw pool. And the Raw pool will be 30 on Raw, and then the other 20 or whatever will be on the Raw Talk. We go backstage. Oh, it's Heavy Machinery with the whole Miz and Morrison thing is going to be continuance. I don't give a shit. I just want it to be over with. Like I said, Otis being the tag team, being the Mr. Money in the Bank is the most irrelevant that briefcase has ever been in its existence. In its 19-year existence, it has been never more relevant than it is this year. Backstage with Sasha Banks, she cuts a promo slipping Bayley on calling her a coward and challenges her to a Hell in a Cell match. Banks says she will break Bayley. She used to love her and she used to be her best friend. with Bayley, but Hell in a Cell, she would take the only thing Bayley loves, the SmackDown Women's Championship. Now, I should be excited. Yeah, these two are getting a women's title, women's Hell in a Cell match, and last year the best match on that card was Sasha Banks versus Becky Lynch inside Hell in a Cell. It sure as hell beat the other one, that other cell match that shall not be named, with the two competitors that shall not be named. But yeah, Hell in a Cell, just, I can't fucking stand that one. We don't need 3 Hell in a Cell matches. Drew McIntyre versus Randy Orton does not deserve Hell in a Cell. Roman Reigns versus Jey Uso does not deserve Hell in a Cell. You gave it the I Quit stipulation. It does not need to be inside Hell in a Cell. Hell, for all I care, Jey Uso versus Roman Reigns should not be happening at Hell in a Cell. Keep that shit off of the pay-per-view. You don't need to have both championships on the line, both world titles. So, yeah, we're getting 3 Hell in a Cell matches. I had a comment where someone said on my last week's episode review that they're going to have a DQ and they're going to go to Hell in a Cell. And it's like, that's no excuse. And again, it was no excuse. There was no reason Hell in a Cell should be they should be going from SmackDown for a 2-3 minute match to Hell in a Cell. It's just so much bad booking. One night, it should, and it better, like I said, it better be the main fucking event. Main event, plain and simple. Fiend versus Kevin Owens. This match, of course, is coming from last week with Kevin Owens with the brand Invitational, was here to face off and talk to Alexa Bliss. The Fiend got involved, and this past Monday on Raw, he had Bray Wyatt on the Kevin Owens show. Really didn't go anywhere with that, except for his feud with Aleister Black continues, which, if anything, split those two up after Monday. Please. Well, one of the biggest gripes about The Fiend is that his matches are not good at all. Like, he really doesn't have any good matches when it comes to wrestling. The Fiend character is the character, the entrance, and, like, the ambiance and all that shit. The Fiend himself is just, like, his in-ring ability is just, But this was, I think, by far the best match The Fiend has had in a long while. Kevin Owens went out there and did everything he could to make The Fiend look as good as The Fiend should look. Just, going after each other, doing everything he can to hit him with a stunner, hit him with a frog splash on the outside. The Fiend just kept getting up. Everything he did, he powerbombed him through, and very poorly and very sloppily, but he powerbombed him through the announce table. The Fiend kept getting up. The whole thing of it is that The Fiend continued to get up. And The Fiend had him in a mandible claw. He hits a stunner. The Fiend still has the mandible claw on, doing the entire stunner. Then he hits him with the Uranagi while he has the mandible claw on. And then Kevin Owens just falls victim. 1, 2, 3. And The Fiend wins. Now, after the match, the lights go down. The lights come back on. The Fiend is up on the ramp with Alexa Bliss and him staring eye to eye to each other. And then they look back. They look down to the ring. They look back at each other. And that was that. Before we can go, they hype up next week's show, which is the season premiere of SmackDown on Fox, with the New Day's farewell match to SmackDown for Xavier Woods and Kofi Kingston. I would really love if this was the night that that would be the night that Big E turns on the other two. Plus, Braun Strowman gets a Universal Championship match, which Dustin tells me that Braun Strowman is going to be staying on SmackDown. No promises, but that's how I feel they're going with that. And that's how the first night of the WWE Draft goes off the air. And it was, I don't know why they had to do this. I like the old draft, the way they used to do the old draft, when everybody was eligible, but if you didn't go to Raw, if you didn't go to the other brand, then you didn't get drafted. You didn't have to worry about, like, oh, well, the WWE Champion's on Raw, let's put the WWE Champion on Raw in the draft pool. No, everyone's available. But only the superstars that you want to move from Raw to SmackDown or SmackDown to Raw are the only ones that get drafted. Everyone else, if you didn't get drafted on the night, stays on their respective show. It's kind of a waste of fucking time to do it this way. But that's WWE for you. That's WWE for you. But that is your Smackdown Draft Night Day Night 1 review. Hit that subscribe button, comment down below, like or dislike this video. Find me on Twitter at The France Club. Find me on twitch.tv/The France Club. Find me on Instagram at The France Club. And I'll see you guys Monday